English 373, week 2, part 3. So I think I've made my points. I'm doing good. So let's keep going with the play a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna go find whatever I'm talking about next. Okay. Hey, we're at this is the most important scene in the whole play. Okay, so I'm on page 5 of our copy. This is I think it's Act 1, Scene 6. That sounds right. I guess it's Act 1, Scene 6. I have no idea. I should really write the act numbers on here more clearly. But it's the part where so Lady Macbeth and Macbeth both know the witch has said that he's going to be king, and they haven't said it out loud yet, but they're definitely they're both thinking about killing the king, and they both know the other one is thinking about killing the king, but they haven't quite said it yet because it's like, who boy, are we really doing this? They don't quite want to say it out loud. Did you ever get into like a flirting situation with somebody where like that person's flirting with you and you're flirting with them, but neither of you say it out loud, because if you did, it would be too big a deal and you'd have to do something about it. But if you just kind of sort of flirt with each other and you're like, because if you say it out loud, they could be like, okay, I'm drawing a line here. I don't want to be in a relationship with you. But if you just kind of flirt a little bit, so neither of you, and you both know you're flirting, but neither of you wants to say it out loud, it's sort of like that, except with murder. Okay, so we're at the most important scene in the play. So Macbeth, it's actually one of Shakespeare's very best scenes anywhere, in any Shakespeare play, and I've read all the important ones. I mean, I've read them all, but I've reviewed the important ones. So what's the scene? The scene is that Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, they know they've had the whole war, this whole civil war thing, the battle, and they won. And so the king's like, okay, I'm going to Macbeth's house. And Macbeth got a promotion, just like the witches said he would. And they go to Macbeth's castle, which is called Dunsinane. Wait, shit, is it called Dunsinane? Anyway, they go to Macbeth's place. They go to Macbeth's castle to kind of celebrate with him the battle and his promotion. And the king comes, and so of course Lady Macbeth and Macbeth are like, they're both thinking this is the perfect time to kill him because he's like literally in her house, and we can just sneak into his room and murder him because we own the castle. Macbeth starts to think on this, and he actually really likes King Duncan. Like, first of all, King Duncan just gave him a promotion. King Duncan thinks he's great. And so Macbeth is like, I don't want to kill this dude. I feel bad about it. And he changes his mind. He says, we're not going to fucking kill this guy. Not doing it. So this is the scene. Lady Macbeth has to talk him back into the plan. They sort of have a plan brewing. She says, look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it, which is a fucking great line. But Lady Macbeth has to talk him back into it because he's getting cold feet. He feels bad about this. My students, by the way, often find this silly. My students really admire cold-blooded murderers. I think they like seeing Hollywood people who will just axe murder 100 people and not even turn around. They just like, boom, you're dead, and they just walk off. Macbeth actually feels bad about doing murder, and I think my students think that's weak. Yeah. Okay. So let's do... All right, but I think it makes him an interesting character. He's an interesting person. So let's talk about this scene. So Lady Macbeth says, Macbeth says, we will proceed no further in this business, meaning we're not going to kill the king. He has honored me of late, meaning recently I got promoted, and I bought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which would be worn now in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon. Meaning, I got promoted. A lot of people love me. I'm not going to screw that up. And this is Lady Macbeth. And this is really this scene is one of Shakespeare's very best scenes in the whole thing. Lady Macbeth says, "Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself?" Meaning like. Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Meaning, like, were you drunk when you had this idea to kill the king? And she continues, hath it slept since and wakes it now to look so green and pale at what it did so freely? Meaning, like, did you ever like do something when you were drunk and then sleep and then wake up with a hangover and look green and pale at what you did so freely? Be like, oh my God, I was drunk, I should not have done that. So she feels like that kind of hangover, when you have a hangover and you regret what you did the night before. She's like, oh, I guess that must be what it's like with your plan to kill the king. I guess you had the idea when you were like drunk, and now that you've slept on it, you feel bad. You've changed your mind. Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Has it slept since and wakes it now to look so green and pale at what it did so freely? From this time, such I account thy love. Ooh. Lady Macbeth is fucking ice cold. Um, she says, "Oh, what did you change your mind about this? Like a drunk guy waking up with a hangover? Maybe you'll change your mind about loving me." Whew, that's rough. It gets rougher. See, Macbeth, they both want to kill the king, but Macbeth kind of is chickening out of it, and she's gonna try to talk him back into it. That's her goal, is to kind of get him back on the murder plan. And boy, she pulls out all the stops. Let's see what else she says. She has another argument. Art thou afeard to be the same in thine own act as valor as thou art in desire? This is one of those sentences that really confuses students, but if you slow down, you can figure it out pretty easy. Art thou afeard to be the same in thine own act in valor as thou art in desire? Are you scared to be the same in your act as you are in desire? Right? Meaning, are you scared to act on your desires? Like, you want to kill the king. Are you scared to turn your desires into reality? Um, it's a pretty intense thing to say to him, but it's also, again, think about what we know about Macbeth's psychology. He is a soldier. Um, she is He's a soldier who is really in love with his wife. Her two arguments are, if you loved me, you'd do it. And also, what are you, fucking scared? That's a very serious thing to say to a guy who makes his entire living carving up motherfuckers on the battlefield with an axe. Um, but she knows him. She knows him really well. She knows him really well. I'll talk more about their relationship. They're a very interesting couple. Actually, maybe I'll say it now. One of my favorite Shakespeare writers, someone who wrote about Shakespeare, a guy named Harold Bloom, who died this year, said that, and this is a fucked up thing to say, he said that the Macbeths are the happiest marriage in all of Shakespeare. Which is a crazy thing to say, because you're like, that's not true. They're all fucking dead and they're fighting all the time. But I get what he means. They are seriously in love with each other. I know a lot of my students exit this play hating Lady Macbeth because she seems so cruel and manipulative to Macbeth. But it's worth pointing out that, like, he calls her my dearest partner in greatness when he finds out that when the witches tell him he's going to be king. It is unusual in this day and age to treat your wife like an equal in this way. Normally, in a lot of these relationships, the wife is sort of like a servant and the husband is like the master of the house. But Macbeth actually relies on her for advice. And they are together in this. Just the fact that they're having a discussion about this shows how much he loves her, because he's listening to her side of things. A lot of men just completely ignore women. They do it today, and they did it back then. And a lot of men back then and today treat their wife like a servant whose opinions are all stupid and worthless. And whatever you want, I know the Macbeths are fucked up, but whatever you want to say about them, he's genuinely interested in having conversations with her about his career and their lives, and they really, in a fucked up way, they care about each other. It's worth pointing out that a lot of people think Lady Macbeth is power hungry, and that's why she wants him to be king. But actually, nowhere in the play does she talk about wanting to be queen and the power and the gold and the castle and whatever. She doesn't ever say that. She wants it for him. She knows that he wants it, and she wants to get it for him. Even if he's scared, she's going to say what it takes to make him get what he wants. She wants it for him. It's a little bit like if you're teaching a kid to ride a bicycle. The kid might be scared. And you might say whatever it takes to get the kid on the bicycle, because once he learns how to ride a bike, he'll be happier. Even though he's like, I don't want to do it, and he's like scared and upset about it. So she is actually trying to kind of be there for him in a weird. She's. I know it seems crazy, but she's almost being supportive in a weird way, because she knows that he wants to kill the king, and he's getting cold feet. So she's trying to push him into doing the thing that will get him what he wants. It's an odd way to support your husband, but it's a hell of a lot more. It's more of a partnership than most relationships at this time. All right, I'll pick that up in the next video.